I get a random phone call. I filled out a survey in class, get a random phone call where I can make $5,000 to $6,000 for the summer. And, I got off to a fast start, made some good money that summer. And it was I made $12,500 in 8 weeks. And when I saw college kids that were going, oh, I'm just going to take a class, you're wasting so much valuable time. Our only focus is the very next play. Whether something good happens or bad happens, our only focus is the very next play. And you only get comfortable doing that, being told no enough times, and you're like, hey, don't take it personally. It's not you. It's just go to the next person, right?
I feel like in college is where, a lot of people kind of figure out what they want to do and a lot of people don't, and we're all about helping students maximize their college experience. So I'm just really curious, what was the moment that you started on the success path? What was the epiphany that maybe happened in your life that, helped you open all these doors? Because obviously you've been tremendously successful.
Well, I think, for me, when I was a freshman at University of Georgia, I was paying my own way through school. So I had scholarships that took care of all the tuition and books and everything. But, any living expenses and any extracurricular fraternity stuff, that was all on me. So I got a job. My girlfriend's mom worked at the UJ library. So she got me a job restocking books for $3 an hour, and which I was super excited about because I got to listen to my Walkman while I was working. But obviously at $3 an hour, wasn't really going to be enough to be able to do the things that I wanted to do. So I get a random phone call. I filled out a survey in class, get a random phone call where I could make $5,000 to $6,000 for the summer. And at this point, this was about 2 weeks before school got out. I had planned on going to a week-long honors program type deal during the summer. I was going to a FCA golf camp for 2 weeks, and it was going to be a shorter summer because we're going from quarters to semesters. So it was really only going to be an 8-week summer anyways. Yeah. But I'm sitting there in the lobby with this guy, and as soon as he told me about everything, I'm all in. I mean, this totally makes sense. I had to break the news to my girlfriend, who obviously was she's calling her dad, trying to get me a job at Coke for the summer. I'm like, not going to happen. My parents were obviously less than thrilled about me going to Kansas to sell books door to door. Didn't even have a car at the time. So, but for me, it was just one of those things that I knew. It was one of those opportunities where I wanted to see how well I could do. I was always super motivated by money at that point. So really just made everything possible to be able to go. Ended up getting a car right before I left. And so that really kind of started that journey of hey, let's take a chance. The guy that recruited me, Dave Ness, really had a lot of respect for him. He was in his 4th or 5th summer. He ended up being one of the top 5 in the company that year. And so he really set a great example for me. And, I got off to a fast start, made some good money that summer. And it was I made $12,500 in 8 weeks. And nice. Because he doing so well, I had no idea that I was actually doing pretty well too.
Yeah.
And then once I finished, my girlfriend and my parents okay, well, good. You got that out of your system. I guess you're not going to do that again, right? And I'm like, well, I'm kind of hooked now, right? And so then I had the opportunity to come back and recruit a team. So that was something that was appealing of okay, I figured out this sales thing. Now I have an opportunity to develop leadership and management skills, because then I was going to be recruiting other college students to go out and sell with me. And so the next summer we went to Montana, and the 4 guys that I recruited, they each average making over $10,000 as well. So, even after 2 years, I'd gotten off to a pretty good start and had a good foundation to build on. And so that was the big thing for me is hey, I was making good money that, allowed me to not have to work during college, and I could actually go and enjoy my life, was super involved in fraternity and extracurricular activities. And so not having to work during college and really fully embrace that experience. Now, the catch was I had to sacrifice every single summer, right? And I think that was the biggest advice I have for college students. And I was really, really convinced on this when I was recruiting people to go sell books, is that, for me, here I was going to a large 30 to 40,000 person public school. And when I go to graduate, I'm going to be lumped in with an even larger pool of people. I was an average to, maybe above average student. So really the only time I had a chance to set myself apart from everybody else was the 3 months during the summer, right? Because if everybody's going to school 9 months out of the year, the only chance you really had a chance to separate yourself in terms of experience, skills, and everything else was going to be what you did during the summer. And when I saw college kids that were going, oh, I'm just going to take a class, you're wasting so much valuable time, because now you're going to have to get some goofy kind of part-time college job in a college town, and you're only going to get 3 hours of credit, versus really going out, going to a new state, getting new experience. And And that was the other thing I was convicted on is like, you don't have many opportunities in life to really, really take a chance on yourself, because once you get married and have kids and have a mortgage and everything else, it's a lot harder to take chances at that point versus being 18, 19 years old. A lot of people do kind of have that safety net of like, okay, let's say you take a chance on yourself and you don't do well. It's not like you're going to all of a sudden be on the streets the following month or two, right? Or it's not like your wife is going to leave you or whatever. Like you're just a single college student typically at that point. So take a chance on yourself at that time. That's the reason why, for me, I wanted to make a lot of money so I could also do some traveling. That was something that was really important to me. And, me and my buddy, we backpacked through Europe for 8 or 9 weeks, one of the summers after I graduated. So, and, you mentioned my wife and I going to New Zealand. So those were just opportunities. And I can even say now in my 40s, it's a lot harder to travel. I miss a lot being gone for a week, much less being gone for 2 to 3 months. Like right now with 3 young kids, it's hard to do that. So take advantage of those opportunities while you're young, and college is such a great time for that.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love hearing about it. I think the incredible New Zealand 6 month is like, what percentage of people take 6 months when they get married to just go be married and spend time with their spouse? That's like, wow, that's like maximizing college, right? You are literally making it to where once you graduated, you can kind of do whatever you want for a little bit, and you're kind of setting the stage for your future. What are some of like the biggest skills? I love what you said about like what holds people back, right? It's just sort of that fear of doubt, the fear of like, oh my gosh, like what if I jump out here and I totally land on my face, like, could you talk a little bit about like what got you through that and, what would help you not procrastinate, maybe doing some of those harder things that other people would maybe think they couldn't accomplish?
Absolutely. The biggest thing on keeping going was just the idea of persistence. One of the things that I did a lot that I built into my schedule, this was something I learned from my student manager, is I read motivational books every single day. I probably read, 8 to 10 different books that summer. The Greatest Salesman in the World, which you probably hear is the book that Matthew McConaughey read right before he got his part that, basically launched his entire career. But that book is very kind of grounds you in habits. Life is Tremendous is another one, but reading good books and putting good stuff in your brain. Because, the thing, if you listen to news, it's going to be negative. If you listen to music, too much, especially when you're gone and 10 hours away from your family, it's going to bring back memories of all the things that you're missing. So for me, reading books was something that really helped kind of ground me. I would say that was a big thing, being surrounded by other positive people. Dave Ness, my roommate, was just phenomenal in terms of just that accountability and knowing that, hey, he was out there working just as hard as I was. And so surrounding yourself with good people. And then one of the other things too, and just one of the mantras when we sold books was like, hey, the solution to every problem lies behind the next door. And so that mentality of just focusing on the very next thing. And, even now when I'm coaching my kids, when we play flag football or basketball, our only focus is the very next play. Whether something good happens or bad happens, our only focus is the very next play. And so I think in life, that's one of those things that, so many times we start to snowball our thoughts and we're like, well, if I don't make a sale here, then I'm going to have a bad day. And if I have a bad day, I'm going to have a bad week. And if I have a bad week, I'm going to have a bad summer. If I have a bad summer, my girlfriend's going to break up with me, or I'm not going to. All of a sudden we go down this hole and next thing you know, we're broke and we're 50 years old. But sometimes we just have to snap ourselves out of it and say, no, you know what? I'm just going to go to the very next house and give it my best shot. The other thing is just positive self-talk, in terms of just, again, our brain is constantly thinking. And if we're not giving it something to think about, then it's going to fill with things of insecurity and doubt. So we have to be proactive about what we tell ourselves. So, again, just having little positive phrases that to keep going. So I would say that was something that was very helpful to keep going. But in terms of skill sets you were asking about, I'm just super convinced, especially now, fast forward, 17 years removed from selling books, is that being good at sales really puts you in position to do whatever it is you want to do, and it's really the easiest industry to get into. A lot of people typically don't start sales until after college, because usually that's the job that's the most abundant. It's the way to make more money than what you can get from a salary job. not. So the sooner you can start sales, the better. But even to have a foundation of being good at sales is going to help you with whatever comes next. So a buddy of mine, for example, he's got a law degree from University of Georgia. Now he's a professor, and he actually teaches a class at University of Georgia where it takes law school students and teaches them how to start and run a business from scratch. Because you think about once you have a law degree, and let's say you go work for a big firm and, they're working you 80 hours a week, to become partner. Well, there comes a point where maybe you don't want to work 80 hours a week anymore. So you decide to start your own practice. Well, now that you're an attorney, now you're actually a self-employed business owner that has to start a business from scratch. So that's what his class does, is it teaches you to, how to brand yourself, what type of office to look for, how to hire people. Because essentially, even though you're an attorney, you're actually a self-employed business owner now. Right. And you think about doctors, the same thing applies. If, a lot of them have their own practice. So, whether you're an accountant, usually the best route, if you want more independence and you don't want to work for a big four and have to travel and not have control over your destiny, then, opening your own accounting firm. But now you're a self-employed business owner. And really, for self-employed people, the way that they generate money is through sales, meeting clients, meeting people, the ability to not be afraid of talking to someone that you don't know and establishing a conversation. How do you do that? Right. So those are the fundamentals of sales that you learn about: establishing rapport, asking about them, asking a lot of questions, finding a need, and then being able to fill that need with whatever the product or service you offer is. So having the skill set and the knowledge to be able to do that, and the confidence of not being afraid of people telling you no. Right. And you only get comfortable doing that, being told no enough times. And you're like, hey, don't take it personally. It's not you. It's just go to the next person. Right. It's not a good fit for them. So I think learning that the sales skills is just huge for whatever you want to do in life.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And I think there's a misconception on sales, right? Some people are like, oh, sales are blah, 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 bad or something and pushy or whatever. I think the biggest thing to understand about really good sales is that it's just a transference of feeling. If you're an attorney and someone's coming in with a problem, what you're doing is you're helping them fill their problem. And good people who understand sales will learn quickly how to adapt their practice to fulfill a problem. If you can fulfill a problem, I mean, your business will grow. And that's really what sales is doing. You're just trying to figure out what product, what need is it that I'm trying to fulfill, and how can I fulfill that? And, good business owners, if they can't help, they tell you, hey man, that's not me. Here's a person that you should go talk to about that thing. Right. So I think sales isn't about, getting money. It's about solving people's problems. And when you get in that problem solving mindset, I mean, people want to hire you. People want to figure out, ways to work with you, because that's actually the number one thing that employers look for, I believe in 2021, was problem solving skills, essentially sales skills, right? Of how to solve someone's problem. And I think that's like the biggest lacking thing for a young person is like, how do I solve a problem or whatever? Because we're just taught to, in school, just go to class and get a good grade, but GPA doesn't really matter that much once you've, graduated. And did anyone ever ask you what your GPA is after you were like 23, 24?
Not really, no. And then really most people don't even care where you went to college at this point, Afford for the first few years out of college, but after a while, it's more about, people don't really care where you went to college as much, in my world at least. But
yeah, I think that's a cool thing. That's pretty awesome. So is there anything that you want to plug real quick?
No, check us out on YouTube as well, grit-org. We have like motivational videos, all of our podcasts, and more to come there as well.
Appreciate everybody. And of course, all of our links will be in the description, grit.org, all that kind of stuff, as well as all of our socials. So hopefully this was helpful to you. If you are interested in maximizing your college experience, we do invite you to come along the ride with me, Joe Ignace, and my co-host, Nick, who couldn't be here on this podcast, but we'll be here in future episodes to subscribe and follow us. Thanks so much.